Welcome to AI for UX. This is the space where UX researchers and product leaders stay current with AI innovation. So I'm John Whalen, and I'm the founder of Brilliant Experience, and we're a psychology-driven product innovation firm. And I've struggled to keep up with all the latest AI tools for UX research, and I'm guessing I'm not alone. That's why I started this series. And in each installment, we talk to a founder of one of the latest AI-enhanced research tools to dive deep into the inspiration for it, how it could benefit you, and where we think this whole thing is headed. And just a quick note, these videos aren't product endorsements. Brilliant always pays full price for anything we use, and neither party is getting paid. This is just to learn about new technologies together. So with that, let me get started. So I'm going to welcome today Prayag. So Prayag Narula is the co-founder and CEO of Marvin, and it's an AI-powered research repository. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview, and we're delighted to have you here.
Thank you, John. I am delighted to be here.
Excellent. Well, let's dive right into Marvin. So I did want to ask, for people who don't know, like us, who do you suggest are the sort of the target audience for your product, and the sort of pain points it tries to address?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. So our target audience are people who we call them powders, people who do research, right? Because it's not just
Nice.
researchers that are doing research today, right? And it's a term we borrowed from a few other folks. So the idea is we help you centralize all of your research in one place, whether you're conducting that research over Zoom or Teams, or whether you're using some of the specialized tools. We're using like a panel provider, like a user testing, or you're using surveys. The idea is to centralize all of that data into one place and be able to explore that data in a natural way, right? So that's the whole overarching ideas. And we have like a lot of workflows. If you're conducting research, we make that process a lot easier. Um, but the goal is we are the place where you bring all of your research in, so you can analyze it, you can share it. Oh, excuse me, share it with the rest of your team. And there are so many people who are conducting research within an organization. There are designers and researchers, but also product managers. There are also strategy folks and pricing folks. And for us, if you know and you can break down those silos, that's kind of the value that we are bringing
Mhm.
into our customers.
Yeah, nice. No, it makes perfect sense to me, knowing your tool. So, and uh, actually, can you just remind me, when did I've known of Hey Marvin for some time, but I don't know if I know exactly when it was started. When did you launch?
When we started and when we launched are kind of two different
Right.
questions, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, because we started back in end of 2020, beginning of 2021.
Hmm. Okay.
So and I can go into the history. I don't know if this is the right time, but I can go into the
Yeah,
history
yeah.
of myself and product a little bit. My background is in research. I actually, kind of like you, my background is in academics. I wrote a bunch of papers. I did research in HCI back University of Helsinki. I came to the US to actually study. I TA'd and taught design research and product research at University of California, Berkeley. And then I started this company that was kind of in HCI space, but then pivoted into more of sales and marketing space. But once I left my previous company, I wanted to do something and get back into the space. So
Hmm.
started the company in around end of 2020, beginning of 2021, and then formally launched it, came out of kind of stealth in about 2 years ago. So almost exactly
Nice.
2 years ago. It was February, March of 2022.
Very cool. And just to remind folks, kind of how would you say your Hey Marvin is unique relative to the other options? And this is our AI for UX, so maybe you can just tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
how AI is integrated to your tool as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, uh, there are kind of a couple of ways in which we are helping our customers. So one is obviously AI is a big part of what we do, but our focus is on making the workflows of conducting research, analyzing research, and then sharing that research a lot better for our customers, right? I think that's where we are differentiated. So every part of AI that we have built, and there is a lot of AI functionalities that we have built, um, every piece of that is designed to improve that workflow. So in for us, a repository is not just a place where you kind of just like bring all of your research and bring all of your maybe all of your artifacts and bring
Hmm.
all of your or reports in one place. It's also a place that integrates nicely into your workflows and whatever platform you're using, right? Um,
Hmm.
and AI is a big part of each and every step of that. So when you're conducting research on Zoom, we help turn Zoom into a full-on research tool, right? With backrooms and AI note taken and everything. If you are analyzing research, we have this really cool and analyze feature that like do thematic analysis for you.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So essentially, the idea is to integrate into every single piece of the workflow and enhance that workflow using AI, rather than be a place where you're like,
Hmm.
I've done the research, now I'm going to store the research in this repository.
And so, um, maybe you just described it, but is there, for the sort of ideal use of your tool, how might I work
Mhm.
differently if I hadn't had your tool before, but now I've got, my marketing
Yeah.
team connected into this and my research team and everyone?
Oh yeah. So there are two primary ways in which it'll like your workflow will be different. One is your actual workflow of conducting research would be, we enhance that. So as I said, think of this as a research assistant that helps you conduct research. So there's like automatic note taking, automatic synthesis. You can ask questions of your research. Think of it as if you have assigned a research assistant to each and every member of your team that's involved in research, right? So that's the workflow piece. And where we really start to shine is be able to provide a place where everybody in your organization can come and ask a question like, what do our customers say about this, about the topic X? What are our what is our customer feedback on this recent product launch, or do we know about
Hmm.
topic X, and be able to get good answers that are backed by all of the research that you and your team has done. That's kind of the overarching. So instead of going to you and
Yeah.
asking around and fumbling around, they can go to one place and be like, what do we know about X, and we get a good answer that's backed by research.
Right. No, I'm used to going and digging through my hours of research and finding the little quotes that are relevant to each pet project, but it sounds like this is so much better. So could you just, I think we've talked about it enough that we should show a little bit. So is it okay if you can
Yeah.
take a few months to show us how this works? Perfect.
Absolutely. I'll show like a few different workflows here, but for those of you who want to try it, we have a free account. You can use it for absolutely free. Go to heymarvin.com and just create your account. But I'm happy to kind of jump in and show kind of a few nuggets that I think are really
Yeah.
cool and really interesting.
Nice. Okay, here, let me try and share your screen. Here we go.
Okay, awesome. Fantastic. So this is the front page of the repository where your team comes in and as I said, can ask a question off of your research, right? So if you're uh, a product leader or a research leader and your team has done a ton of research and you're asking yourself a question, how do I make this research generally available and become part of a company's of your organization's strategy? This is what you build, and this is a fully white labeled solution. It'll have like your URL, your logo on it. You can have all of this research that's like created for that these pages that your team has created. Hey, here is what do we know about topic AI, right? Like here is everything we know about AI. What do we know about customer success stories? Here is kind of all of the research we have done But here's when things get really interesting. You can just come in and ask a question, something like, what do our users say about Marvin's AI, right? So anybody from your team can come in and just ask a question about a topic, right? And then the system, the AI can look at all of the research that your team has done, all of the reports that they have created, all of the artifacts that they have generated, and and give kind of a detailed response based on all of the research. And not only will it give a detailed response, it'll cite its response, right? It'll say all of this response is based on these videos, and here is a video clip that talks about this, that answers this question, and here is a report that you might want to look at, and here is a NPS score that you conduct NPS survey that NPS response that talks about this, right? So this idea of being able to expose your research to the entire organization without having to kind of without them asking your team again the question of what do we know about X, that's kind of the core use case, right? But at the same time, there is also stuff for your now to be able to do this, you need to bring the data into Marvin as well. And so we help with that process as well. So you can, as I said, you can convert your entire whatever tools you're using, so like Zoom, into a full-on research repository. You can bring in all of that data into one place. You can ask questions off of your data. You can ask, hey, here is an interview I did. Can we create like a full-on, like a list of pain points, right? To be able to interact and engage with your data is a big piece of what we do. We also have an AI assistant that helps you analyze large amount of data. So you can just basically say, here is all of the data from this project. Can the AI do a thematic analysis for me? Can you do a trend analysis for me? And have the system spit out a report that looks something like this, where it has done the pattern matching for you, done the thematic analysis for you, and tells you, hey, here are the major patterns we are seeing. So now, and it'll cite its responses. But the idea is you give it like a large swathe of data, it'll give you those themes. And now you, as a researcher and a designer and a product person, your job is to tell the narrative rather than spend your time hours on like, what are the patterns that are emerging from these hours of videos we have, or thousands of responses on surveys that we have. So every step of the way, we have built those workflows.
Prayag, I wanted to ask you, this is really cool. Thank you for showing me this. And I actually didn't know the full capability you have now. So I'm really glad we did this for me personally. But I was going to ask, how, there are these discussions about just hallucinations or other things like that. How have you worked to make you comfortable with your data here?
I think one of the biggest, and this is a general, so I should add, we are funded by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, and when we first started, even before the product was done, like I got in touch with Sam and said, like, hey, here's the product I'm trying to build. What do you think? And back then, OpenAI wasn't available as an API, so it wasn't, it was. But the idea is, the reason I'm saying all this is I'm not connected to OpenAI in any ways, but I've followed their progress very closely, and the one of the things that OpenAI and all of the models tell you is, do not rely 100% on AI, and think of AI as an assistant rather than the authority, right? So one of the things that we encourage our users and our customers to do is always check the underlying data and ensure that you are that the AI is interpreting the data in the way that you would have done, right? So every time we produce an output, whether it's something like this, or it's a thematic analysis, or any kind of response, right, we always cite it. We always showcase, hey, here is a response. Go in and like check if that's actually what it says, right? And everything is, so that's kind of a big part of what we try to encourage our customers to do, is like make sure you look at the underlying data, and every response our AI brings you is cited, and it's a big part of kind of what we do. So
Mhm.
um, I don't think we can
Yeah.
completely get hallucinations across the board. I have not seen big problems with hallucinations in the
Hmm.
context that we are in, but any output of AI should be cited and should be checked by the people who are actual
Right.
experts, and kind of what we encourage our
Yeah.
customers
Well,
to do.
I mean, and the citations clearly help a lot here too.
Yeah.
Well, is there? I don't want to over. Um, I want you to do the right amount of sharing that you want to. Were there other things you wanted to make sure we took a look at, or is this a good
I
example?
mean, I would I would encourage the listeners, if you're interested, and if you're look, we are on the cutting edge of AI, honestly, and we talk about like, a lot of times you talk about as product person, what have other people done, and in terms of AI, we are at a point where like when I'm sitting with my product team, like we can't really look at other companies, or even, like we have to go outside our industry to start to kind of get inspiration. So um, instead of going and like showing you everything, I would
Hmm.
encourage the users just go and create a free account and explore the
Nice.
system for themselves. Yeah, but it is exciting to be on the cutting edge of AI, and especially AI in design
Yeah.
research.
No, very cool. And well, thank you for that. And no, I'm really glad to catch these new things that are up for your um, tool. And so I guess I wondered, is there anything that you've been working on recently that, well, I guess first of all, did you start this just to take that step back? You mentioned it sort of briefly, but
Mhm.
was it really out of frustration for your own research that you launched this tool, or was it something else that, yeah?
Yeah, it was definitely something of my. So there are kind of couple of things that were really kind of frustrating. So when I was running my previous company, we had a product team, and we had researchers. And one of the things that I was kind of always, it was always frustrating to me was um, all of the communication was kind of not based in data. It was sales team says go build this, and like what did
Hmm.
they exactly say? Well,
Yeah.
we don't know, right? Like this is, here is like my notes, or here's like scribbling I did
Hmm.
on a piece of paper, right? So I was constantly frustrated that we were not having data driven decision. And
Hmm.
even beyond that, I was thinking, this qualitative data, which is such a rich source of data, is kind of getting missed. Like we're not bringing like all of our math data and conversion numbers and all of our like website traffic, all of that was being logged, but
Hmm.
all of our qualitative data was like kind of just siloed, and nobody was paying
Yeah.
attention to it. So that was one. And then I was frustrated by my own workflows, right? Like I was trying to do research on what product should we build, and I just didn't think they were good workflows built for that. So that's a lot of that frustration came from both being a company leader and trying to figure out how can we make better product and strategic decisions as an organization,
Hmm.
as a team lead, but also based on my workflows that I was trying to follow, that were I felt were not being supported, and that should require like a
Hmm.
modern solution. So yeah, that's
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 awesome.
a lot of this inspiration comes from my background personally.
Very cool. Well, thank you for that and sharing this with the world. Um, is there, I did want to just have a couple minutes because I know our time is going fast. In thinking about
Mhm,
the future, you're someone that has thought about, how to do research, how to do innovation, and also,
mhm.
kind of even what's coming next in your world. So I guess I wondered, what you see next for Hey Marvin, and my little script here said in the next few years, which seems ridiculous for us to imagine, but
Mhm.
also just how you see this, UX research or product research evolving in the next while. So what are your thoughts there?
That's a great question. That's something that I spend a lot of time thinking about and talking to our audience. I do a podcaster slash a webinar as well. Um, and this is a topic of discussion that comes up very often. What's next for us, right? So I believe there are a few things. One is I believe we're still in early days of exploring what AI can do for research. I think AI as a tool, we are just getting started. I think there's so much more that we could do with AI, both in terms of like data collection and as well as
Mhm.
like data synthesis, and then most
Mhm.
importantly, I think what AI can do is help research become a much more strategic um, uh, asset for the entire organization, right? What I foresee in the next few
Mhm.
years is
Mhm.
research as part of kind of the C suite's decision making toolkit,
Nice.
right? And I think
Mhm.
AI is a key part of that, right? So I can foresee a board meeting of a large public company where you have a dashboard where you can go to and say like, what are our customers saying about, and that becoming part of, which is not, it's not a standard part of board meetings today, that becoming part of like a regular activity that happens in a boardroom. And that's something that CEOs and CXOs regularly engage with. And I think AI has a big role to play in that. I feel like the role of people who do research is going to start to evolve from the act of
Mhm.
conducting research. I think that's going to. I'm not. It's not going to get fully automated, and I'm not 100% sold on synthetic respondents and all of that. I think there is a place for that, but I think the focus will shift on how do we conduct research and how do we analyze research to how do we build compelling narratives that moves an organization forward, right? Like how do we build
Mhm.
compelling stories that convinces our organization to take those key initiatives that we are, or build those key products that we are um, trying to ask them to build, or that what our
Mhm.
research is telling us, or the strategic direction that our research is telling us to go towards. So I think that's probably
Mhm.
the big organizational changes that I see happening in the next few years, and AI would be a key component of that.
Mhm.
These innovations, for example, like being in the boardroom and being like strategic part of board's decision making process, would not happen if it wasn't for advancement in AI.
Mhm. Uh, got it. No, very nice. And no, we I think we're all trying to figure this out and seeing how it evolves. And it seems like um, becoming increasingly strategic and less of the mundane kind of digging for a quote or something like that historically. Um,
Mhm.
well, thank you so much. I know I can't keep you forever. If viewers want to try Hey Marvin, how can they get started?
Just go to www.heymarvin.com. There's a big button on the top. It says sign up for free, and you sign up for free, and you can try the software, or get in touch with the team to get like a proper demo of the product. But we are really thank you for having me. This has been great, and we're really excited about, as I said, being on the cutting edge of AI. And I'm so
Mhm.
glad you have this podcast, because I feel, as I said, we are just scratching the surface on AI, and even though we are
Mhm.
all kind of a little bit tired of hearing about AI, I still scratching the surface, and there's
Mhm.
a lot of kind of stuff that's happening in this space. So thank you for
Excellent.
having me, and thank you for the podcast.
Sure. No, thank you so much, Greg. And thank you for sharing Hey Marvin as well. It's clear how much care and consideration and passion is involved in it. And I think that's one of the great things about hearing from founders like yourself. So I really appreciate it. Well, here I'll finish this
Absolutely,
up.
thank you so much.
Yeah, so thank you once again. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for tuning in and keeping up with the latest on AI for UX research. And subscribe if you enjoyed this, and tell us who else you'd like us to feature next. So, wishing you all brilliant insights with AI.